Hello, my name is Craig Fisher, Manager of Employee Relations for Komatsu Forklift USA. This video is about forklift operator safety. It's about preventing accidents and lost time. Komatsu has prepared this training course to present the basic safety rules for forklift truck operations. As a forklift truck operator, you play an important role in the safe conduct of your business. Thank you for your attention today, and we feel that this will be a very beneficial use of your time.
Welcome to Komatsu Forklift USA Incorporated at its principal North American Manufacturing Center in Georgia. During this course, we'll be discussing forklift operator training and what it takes to be a skilled driver. Driving your lift truck is a specific job skill no different than operating any other piece of heavy industrial machinery. It is not like driving a car. There are significant differences between the two types of vehicles, and you should not assume that you can drive one the same as the other. A good driver knows the differences and makes adjustments accordingly. This course is designed to introduce the new or inexperienced driver to the principles of safe operation and to review safety issues with a more experienced driver. The video by itself is not intended to replace a complete training program from your employer, nor is it designed to replace a thorough reading and understanding of the operations manual that accompanies every truck. In order to get the maximum value from the training program, you must participate in the training, take the written tests, and also go through the practical driving exercises at the end. The Komatsu attitude toward operator safety training stresses the role of the operator as an integral part of the various operating processes in your company. We feel that the professional driver is an important part of the overall industrial operations and has much to contribute in discussing relating to his or her business. Since the intent of this course is to refine and build on your skills as lift truck operators, you'll be active participants throughout this course. We will use a number of structured conversations about specific tasks involving a lift truck during normal operations. We will learn to apply safety awareness to our work areas, and we will explore the reasons why accidents investigated by OSHA actually occurred and what could have been done to prevent them. Finally, we will go through a written and a practical test to measure how well you have learned the material. Formal operator training is essential to the professional lift truck operator as well as to his or her employer, co-workers, and even visitors. Safety is an attitude that all employers must bring with them to the workplace. You must be familiar with your company's published safety policy. You must also know the proper safe operating procedures for the lift truck or lift trucks that you will be driving, including related points such as battery handling, refueling, and dealing with specialized forklift attachments. If you have not already received the operating manual for the truck you operate, be sure to ask your employer for a copy as well as the time to read it. You must always remember that you are a professional. You will operate a very specialized piece of heavy industrial equipment, and you have the responsibilities that go along with the job. The level of training that you have experienced is an important part of your job skills evaluation. Your supervisor will be able to document the value of what you have learned and how your skills have improved in your personnel record. All employers must follow the guidelines published by the Federal Occupational Safety and Health Administration for providing training to employees who operate lift trucks. This course helps your employer meet those guidelines. You will learn all aspects of your assigned trucks thoroughly, including its handling characteristics, maintenance needs, safety equipment, and the importance of the stability triangle. You will practice the driving skills which are necessary to perform your assigned task safely and efficiently. Finally, you will learn about critical maintenance checks which keep your lift truck in top condition. The Komatsu Lift Truck Operating Training and Safety Program makes a difference in your performance level. After successful completion of the course and after a thorough review of the truck operating manual, you will be able to drive your assigned lift truck correctly, you will understand its characteristics and limitations, and you will become familiar with a variety of common operating situations. OSHA requires that a pre-operation safety inspection be performed on a lift truck before it is placed in service during that shift. The inspection will reduce injuries and property damage caused by equipment malfunction or failure during operation. Every new operator should do the pre-operation inspection before driving the truck, not just leave it for shift change. A good pre-shift inspection starts with an overall visual examination of the lift truck. The first step is to ensure that the controls are neutralized, the engine is turned off, the forks are lowered to the ground, the parking brake is engaged, and the ignition key is removed. Look all around the truck as well as underneath for signs of leaks. The operator walks completely around the truck, looking under it and around the steer axle and upright. He quickly touches the hydraulic controls, the parking brake lever, and takes the ignition key out of the switch. He looks at the forks, then gives the upright a shake. He looks at the lift chains and the main lift cylinder without touching them, and checks down behind the upright at the mounting. Check the upright for broken or damaged mountings, worn or misaligned lift chains, leaking hoses and hydraulic cylinders, cracked upright channels, or broken wells. These are visual checks only. Keep your arms and hands out of the upright. Ensure the load backrest is secure and undamaged. A lift truck should not be operated when the load backrest is removed, missing, or damaged in any way. Look at the carriage for signs of damage, paying particular attention to the fork bar wells and the carriage end stops. Carefully examine the forks. Are the hangers secure? Are the locking pins operating correctly? Be certain the forks are not worn or cracked. Badly worn fork heels or small cracks in the metal can cause the forks to fail under a load, creating a potentially dangerous situation for anyone nearby. Look at the overhead guard. The overhead guard is an important safety feature on your lift truck. Its purpose is to protect you from falling objects. It must be securely bolted to the chassis and be free of cracks, bent legs, and unauthorized modifications. Although the overhead guard is not designed to withstand the force of a falling load without damage, it can deflect falling objects and help reduce the possibility of injury. Check the tires. Look for cracks or chunks missing. On pneumatic tires, check for proper inflation and signs of uneven or excessive wear. Examine the lift truck data plate carefully. The maximum load capacity is a very important safety issue. The maximum load is the heaviest weight that can be handled at the standard load center. Most industrial lift trucks operate on a 24-inch load center, which is the distance from the center of the load back to the front face of the carriage. The allowable maximum load is stamped on the data plate to show the relationship between the position of the load center, the height of the forks, and the weight of the maximum load. As the forks go up, the rated capacity of the truck goes down. Before lifting any load, check that the load and the load center are within the proper limits stamped on the lift truck's data plate. If there is ever any question about the capacity of a lift truck to lift a certain load, take the extra time to determine the limits involved. A lift truck should not be operated without a proper data plate. If it is missing, report the problem to your supervisor and take the truck out of service. Check to see that all safety decals are in place and in the correct position on the truck. Note any that are scraped off or otherwise difficult to read and report them to your supervisor. Check the operations manual for a list of required decals and their proper locations. Carefully examine the fuel connections on the LPG fuel tanks, fuel lines on regular gasoline trucks or diesel trucks, and battery cables on electric trucks. Check for leaks or loose fittings, and please remember, never smoke or have open flames around any area where fuel is stored, transferred, or collected. On the electric trucks, check the cables for worn spots or cracks in the rubber insulation. Make sure the battery itself is properly secured. A battery can weigh as much as a small car and will represent a major safety hazard if it should ever come loose during truck operation. Electric trucks are equipped with safety stops. These should be tightened down securely. Check the cold engine. By removing the one-piece floorboard, you will expose the entire engine and drivetrain system. Pull the engine oil dipstick and check the fill mark. Look at the transmission oil dipstick for proper levels as well as the hydraulic fluid dipstick. Check the brake fluid reservoir to ensure the proper levels of brake fluid. Report any low fluid conditions to your supervisor. Look at the coolant level and make certain the level of coolant in the reservoir is up to the coal full mark. If the coolant is low, add some according to the instructions in the operations manual and note the deficiency on the checklists. On electric trucks, ensure the battery electrolyte level is proper and the charge level on the dash-mounted battery discharge indicator is correct. When looking at the electrolyte level, be certain to wear safety goggles as well as any other protective gear required by your employer and avoid any splashes. A battery that has been on charge and has not had sufficient time to cool down may throw electrolyte out of a cell when the cover is removed. Step up on the truck using the convenient hand grip mounted on the front leg of the overhead guard. Sit in the operator seat and make certain your safety belt is securely fastened. Test the horn to make sure it works and move the hydraulic controls to verify that they operate smoothly without binding. Also check that the spring-loaded return to neutral safety feature is working properly. With the truck in safe mode, park brake applied, controls neutralized, forks lowered, turn the key and start the motor. Turn on the lights and ensure that all lights in the light group are operating correctly. Test the stop tail lights to verify that they illuminate when the brake pedal is lightly depressed. Missing, broken, or malfunctioning lights should be reported. After assuring there is adequate overhead clearance, run the forks all the way to the top of the mast and back down. Watch for binding in the channels and listen for unusual sounds in the hydraulic lift system. With the forks elevated, test the tilt function, again watching for binding and listening for unusual sounds. After releasing the park brake, check the service brakes in both forward and reverse. The brakes should stop the truck completely with only minimal effort. The brake pedal should not drift to the floor when pressure is applied. Some applications require specialized warning devices such as motor alarms, strobe lights, and backup alarms. If your truck is equipped with one or more of these devices, check to see that they're in proper working order. Examine all gauges. Report any that are not functioning or have broken lens covers. While moving forward, slowly check the steering wheel operation. The steering wheel should turn smoothly from stop to stop without binding. Listen for any unusual sounds coming from the steer axle or the power steering pump. Ensure the truck follows both a straight track and the curve of a turn without wobbling or deviating from the proper line of travel. Check the operation of the engine pedal by slightly depressing the pedal. You should be able to increase the speed of the motor without increasing travel speed with the engine pedal partly depressed. Be sure the truck stops completely when the engine pedal is fully depressed. Finally, listen for any unusual noises in the engine and transmission. Check for any unusual smells. Look at the exhaust to see if it is clear. After once again checking to see that your seat belt is securely fastened and the park brake is released, assume your assigned duties. OSHA requires a pre-operation safety inspection every time the lift truck is placed into use. The inspection is intended to reduce accidents and prevent some of the injuries and material damage that results from sudden equipment failure. You should perform a visual inspection of the key systems on your lift truck, looking for potential safety hazards like cracks, leaks, and loose connections. Then you must perform a functional check to see that all systems are working properly. After performing each inspection, mark the results on your checklist and give the date and time of the inspection. Do not attempt to make repairs yourself unless you're trained and authorized to do so by your employer. When you find problems, attach an out-of-service tag to the steering wheel, remove the key, and report the deficiency or deficiencies to your supervisor. And one very important point: do not operate a malfunctioning truck. You have a responsibility to your employer and your coworkers to ensure that the equipment you're using is safe and in proper condition. Decals and warning labels are a short reminder of important operations and safety-related issues on your equipment. Be certain to read about each safety label in your operations manual. Location 1. This important label displayed prominently on the mast reminds everyone that a lift truck is designed to carry only the operator. Riders are prohibited. Never lift anyone with your forks. There are specialized pieces of equipment for that purpose. The qualified operator knows that standing on or under the forks is prohibited. Location 2. This label is mounted where the operator can see it easily and is intended to remind him or her to never reach into the mast or hold onto the mast when the truck is in use. Serious injury can result from the smallest misjudgment or malfunction. Location 3. This label reminds the operator to put the lift truck in safe condition before attempting to start the engine. This means neutralizing the controls, forks on the floor, and park brake on. Location 4. This label reminds people that the fan is a dangerous object when it is spinning. Never attempt to work around the fan while the engine is running. The label is displayed in 2 places on and around the radiator assembly. Location 5. This is a second label intending to ensure the lift truck carries only the operator. Riders are never permitted. Location 6. The General Operations and Safety label gives instructions on the procedures for dealing with common operating conditions. It should be carefully read by the operator to ensure he or she is familiar with each of its points. Location 7. This label relates to pneumatic tires only and warns the operator to completely deflate tires before attempting to remove rim nuts. It is easily seen attached to the rim of pneumatic tires only, both front and rear tires. Location 8. Mounted on the side of the overhead guard, in position for the driver to easily see as he mounts the truck, is an important label dealing with the prevention of and reaction to a tip-over. This label reminds the operator that tip-overs can occur when the truck is loaded or empty. Slow down before turning, even on a flat surface. The label also gives some guidelines for dealing with a tip-over. Do not try to jump from the truck. Hold the steering wheel tightly. Brace feet against the floorboards firmly. Lean away from the direction of the tip. Keep these labels clean so they can be easily read. If a label comes off, gets badly scratched, or becomes unreadable, replace it with a new one. Each label has a part number and can be easily ordered just like any other genuine Komatsu part. There are a variety of specialized lift trucks in use today, most of which are very different from automobiles and other forklifts. In order to properly do your job, you must know and understand the operating characteristics and safety rules for your equipment. When you work with order pickers, you must be aware that the truck should not be operated unless you are wearing a belt and tether. But you must follow your employer's in-house safety regulations, which may require additional protective gear. Never attempt to lean too far over the side of the truck to reach a package in an awkward position. Be sure to bring the truck as close to the package as possible. This will help you avoid spills, lifting injuries, and even a possible fall. After placing the package on the pallet, return to the operating compartment, fasten the safety chain, and move the lift truck slowly to the next picking location. Order pickers have a travel speed restriction which slows the truck to 1/2 speed once the operating platform is raised more than 24 inches from the floor. When the platform is raised above 150 inches, the travel speed is restricted to 1 mile per hour, and it is further reduced to 0 once the platform is raised above 225 inches. If travel speed is required in the job, lower the platform close to the ground before moving to the next location. Another safety feature is the side gate. Unless the side gate is lowered into place, the safety interlock prevents both travel and lift functions from operating. Do not attempt to operate the lift truck if you find that one or more of these safety features is not working correctly during your pre-operation inspection. When pulling items from the rack storage slots, place your packages securely on the pallet so that they do not shift. You do not want your hard work to be wasted by having one or more items fall off the pallet to the floor below. This is both a safety hazard and a waste of material. Be certain that there are no pedestrians around when you move your order picker. With the operating compartment elevated, it is often very difficult to see people walking around below. Sound the horn and make sure that there's no one in the way before moving. If you're not able to see, or if there is pedestrian traffic, use a spotter or lower the platform to a point where you can see in all directions. When starting your lift truck, make sure that you can reach all the controls. Move your seat to a location that is both comfortable and close enough to touch all the controls easily. This means foot controls as well as hand controls. Adjust your steering wheel to an angle that allows a full range of motion without straining or leaning forward. Fasten your seat belt. Check to see that the park brake is applied, controls are neutralized, and the forks are on the ground. Turn the key and start the motor. Release the parking brake and raise the forks to the proper height for traveling, approximately 3 inches above the ground. Most important of all, look where you're going. Check all around the truck and on all sides and behind you. When approaching intersections or blind turns, sound your horn. If you run over someone, it's too late to change your habits. Make your safety precautions second nature now before anyone is injured. Drive at low or moderate speeds. Never be in a hurry and never show off. Excessive speed is a common cause of plant accidents involving lift trucks. When in doubt, slow down. To summarize the key points: 1. Be sure you can reach all the controls easily. 2. Wear your seatbelt at all times when your lift truck is in operation. 3. Check carefully around when you start to move your lift truck. 4. Drive at moderate speeds only. When coming to a stop for an extended period of time, as at the end of a shift, the operator must park the lift truck in its proper location and lower the forks to the floor. Then the parking brake is applied and the controls are neutralized. When the operator leaves the truck for any reason and is further than 25 feet from it, the lift truck is considered to be unattended. An unattended lift truck must have the key removed and be put in a safe position, controls neutralized, forks lowered to the floor, parking brake applied, and the motor turned off. Always park on level surfaces whenever possible. Most plants have designated locations for long-term parking of lift trucks. If it is not possible to park on a level surface, be sure to block the wheels before leaving it unattended. There's always the chance that the truck could roll. Do not park your lift truck in front of doorways or stairs, emergency exits, or where the truck is blocking access to fire extinguishers or other safety equipment such as emergency shut-off switches, eye wash stands, or chemical neutralizers. To summarize the key points: 1. Whenever leaving your lift truck unattended, turn off the motor, lower the forks to the floor, neutralize the controls, and remove the key. 2. When the operator is more than 25 feet from his lift truck, it is considered to be unattended. 3. Always park on level surfaces. If that is not possible, block the wheels. 4. Do not park your lift truck in front of doorways or stairs, emergency exits, or where it might block access to emergency equipment. Every professional lift truck operator knows that it is dangerous to move his truck without looking carefully all around. Always look in the direction you're traveling and never take anything for granted. If you cannot see around the load, drive in reverse or use a spotter and agree on the hand signals to be used before moving. Coming to an intersection is a dangerous time because it is difficult to see around corners. Look for clues that might assist you in assessing the vehicle or pedestrian traffic. Never pass at an intersection. Try to drive in the center of the aisle to allow you the largest field of vision in all directions. As you approach the intersection, slow down and sound your horn. When preparing to elevate a load into position, approach the load squarely. Careful placement on the forks is very important when trying to avoid dropped product from high locations. The forks should be inserted as far into the pallet as is possible. The ideal depth is all the way against the fork face and the load backrest. Once the forks are inserted correctly, raise the load off the floor and tilt it slightly back for transporting. The load should be approximately 3 inches off the floor. The operator moves the truck to the proper position in the aisle and places his truck square with the rack. The truck should never elevate the load at the same time it is turning into position. This turn and lift habit with a load on the forks shifts the center of gravity dangerously outside the normal ranges, makes the equipment unstable, and contributes to many industrial accidents involving lift truck tip-overs. Come to a complete stop in front of the rack before attempting to raise the load into position. After coming to a full stop, the operator raises the load until it is slightly higher than the rack deck upon which it will be placed. He moves the truck slowly forward until the load is in the rack and then lowers it carefully into position. Raising the fork slightly to take pressure off the bottom of the pallet, the operator then backs slowly out of the rack until the fork tips are clear and lowers the forks to a safe distance off the floor. After looking behind his truck, the operator should move out into the aisles. It is possible to move pallet loads quickly with this method because there is very little wasted motion. Each load is transported safely to the proper location and loaded in the rack with a minimum of effort. One of the most difficult lift truck operations is to reach for a load high off the ground and bring it safely down. It takes a steady hand, good eyes, and the ability to accurately judge distance and dimension. The operator moves his lift truck into position square with the rack. He raises the forks until they're near the pallet that will be lowered. You must accurately judge the distance from down below so that the fork tips are inserted into the pallet opening without knocking the contents around or accidentally sliding the pallet off the rack. The operator raises the pallet slightly above the rack rails and backs slowly up, watching behind as well as keeping the pallet from hanging up on neighboring pallets. When the load is clear, the operator lowers the pallet about 12 inches, watching the lift chains carefully. If the chains stay taut, the load has cleared the rack and can be lowered safely. However, if the chains start showing slack in them, the load has hung up on the rack or a neighboring pallet and must be disengaged before attempting to lower it. Raise the load and back further out before trying again. When the load has been lowered to a safe transporting height, the operator can back carefully into the aisle and move to his next stop. The professional operator knows that carrying a load which is not stable can be a dangerous business. Make certain that your load does not extend into the upright or between the carriage fork bars. Items that stick through the load backrest into the carriage or upright will prevent the upright from extending properly. This can cause damage to the load and injury to people in the vicinity. You have learned, when moving your truck, always look in the direction you'll be traveling before you actually start moving it. Approach the load squarely so that the load is set firmly on the forks. Never attempt to turn your lift truck and raise the load at the same time. Stop first, then lift the load. As you bring your load down from the rack, watch the lift chains for slack. This usually indicates that the pallet has hung up on the rack and cannot be lowered safely. Raise the fork slightly, back up a bit, and then attempt to lower the load. When transporting a load, keep the forks about 3 inches off the floor. Carry a load as low as possible to maintain stability and reduce the possibility of a tip-over. Carry loads which have been arranged for maximum stability. Do not carry loads which have loose items extending into the upright or carriage. Drive your lift truck at moderate speeds through the plant and always try to stay in the center of the aisle unless your employer has designated lift truck lanes. This gives you the best view of your surroundings as well as the maximum time to deal with surprises. You must be ready for the unexpected at all times. When following another lift truck, maintain at least 3 truck lengths separation. 1 truck length is measured from the counterweight to the fork tips or the end of the load, whichever is longer. This gives you plenty of time to stop safely if it is necessary. Be sure to extend the minimum following distance when traveling on an incline or across a wet or slippery surface. Always be alert for pedestrians. They cannot see or hear your truck. Pedestrian accidents involving lift trucks are usually quite serious. Terrible crushing injuries result when a lift truck strikes a person, and you certainly do not want to harm a coworker. Always be certain to look in the direction of travel and be extra cautious at intersections and blind corners. Since you cannot see around corners, you must compensate. Slow down as you approach the intersection and sound your horn. A coworker may be in your lane of travel and not realize until it is too late. Don't be in such a hurry that you place yourself and others in jeopardy. When turning your lift truck, such as when putting a load into a rack position, watch your tail swing. The counterweight of your lift truck overhangs the steer axle by a large margin and presents a danger to pedestrians. A lift truck steers from the rear wheels and does not handle like an automobile. You must always compensate for this handling characteristic and be certain that pedestrians are out of range before you begin your turn. If they approach too close, stop your truck and warn them before attempting to complete the turn. Never drive a lift truck up to a person who is standing in front of a bench, support pillar, wall, or other fixed object. Even the most careful or conscientious driver can misjudge distance or have his brakes fail or find himself on an unexpected slippery surface. A small amount of prevention can avoid catastrophic injuries. Of course, never allow riders on your lift truck. This is very dangerous and will not be tolerated by your employer. Lift trucks are designed to carry only one person and are not equipped to accommodate riders. You are responsible for the safe operation of your lift truck at all times, so you must make it clear that riders are not allowed. Also, do not allow anyone to get on an overhead guard or load backrest even when the truck is parked. Additionally, you are expected to conduct yourself in a professional manner at all times. You must not allow yourself to indulge in any horseplay with your lift truck. It is a piece of industrial equipment and is not intended as a toy. Operators should observe the normal flow of lift truck traffic in the plant and attempt to move in the same direction whenever possible. Although most aisles are wide enough to allow 2 trucks to pass, sometimes the space is confined. Watch for obstructions on the floor. Clear your path so that debris on the floor does not upset your load or damage the truck. Keep string, plastic, or metal banding and pieces of shrink wrap material from wrapping around the undercarriage of your lift truck. This debris can cause damage to your truck that makes it unsafe to operate. Be wary of things that protrude out of stacks of material and storage areas. Watch that you do not find yourself passing another lift truck to avoid debris on the floor at an intersection. Watch for overhead obstructions as well. Your lift truck takes up space above your normal line of sight, and you must be aware of pipes, ductwork, roll-up doors, low doorways, stairways, wiring, and lights that could be damaged by your lift truck as it passes. Be certain to watch above your travel path as well as along it. You have learned: drive at moderate speeds and stay 3 truck lengths behind the truck in front. Always look in the direction of travel. Watch out for counterweight swing. Do not carry passengers or lift personnel. Watch for obstructions. Ramps are a very special challenge for lift truck operators and must be treated with great caution. There are a number of very specific rules that must be remembered when working on a ramp. First, stay as close to the center of the ramp as possible, staying away from the edges. A truck that comes too close to the edge is in a very high-risk environment. Second, be certain that the surface of the ramp is not icy or slippery before attempting to negotiate it, regardless of whether you're going up or down. A slippery surface can easily cause a lift truck to slide off the side and overturn. Third, always travel straight up or straight down the ramp. Under no circumstances should you attempt to turn while on the ramp. If you must change direction, go all the way to the top or the bottom before trying to turn. The rules are simple when negotiating ramps on a lift truck. Unloaded. Forks point downhill whether going up or down the ramp. Loaded. Forks point uphill whether going up or down the ramp. When operating inside a rail car or trailer, the operator must ensure that the flooring inside is sound. It must be able to support both the weight of the lift truck and a load. A truck which collapses the floor can injure the operator and damage material easily. The operator should carefully examine every part of the trailer floor, looking for weak or rotten wood as well as cracks or splits. Extreme caution is essential when working in areas around the loading docks. Congestion, pedestrians, tight spaces, and limited visibility create hazardous conditions for everyone, and the operator must be more vigilant than ever to avoid accidents. Be certain that the dock boards or dock levelers are sound and in good repair before driving across. A broken or improperly placed dock board or leveler can fail under the weight of a lift truck and its load. Finally, be sure to have plenty of light when working inside these confined spaces. It is difficult to accurately place your load in the trailer if the light is inadequate. Also, there should be good ventilation in order to protect the operator against becoming overcome by the exhaust fumes of his truck. Battery-powered lift trucks have less chance of causing respiration problems for the operator. However, it is still possible. Before the operator works inside a trailer, he should make certain that several safety-related issues are addressed first. The trailer must be completely stabilized at the dock. A lift truck with a load on the forks places great stress on the suspension of the trailer as well as the landing gear. The operator should check that the trailer brakes are engaged and the wheel chocks are in place. These checks are sufficiently important that the operator should make them himself rather than taking anyone's word for it. He should physically examine each system to see that it is positively engaged. Do not rely on the truck driver or shipping supervisor. However, do be sure to communicate with the truck driver about how you will advise him or her that you have finished loading or unloading and it is safe for the trailer to pull away. To summarize what you have learned, the following key points are: 1. Operating on ramps requires special care. Stay in the center of the ramp and away from the edges. Do not attempt to drive on the ramp if it is wet or slippery. Always drive straight up or straight down. Never, ever try to turn while on a ramp. Keep forks pointed downhill when the lift truck is empty and pointed uphill when the lift truck is loaded. 2. When working in trailers or rail cars, take nothing for granted. Check the stability and soundness of the trailer floorboards. Watch for pedestrians and other lift trucks in the shipping area. Make certain there's plenty of light inside the trailer and that all safety devices are properly in place. Do not take anyone's word for this. 3. The stability triangle. The stability triangle is comprised of 2 front wheels and the center point of the rear axle. The center of gravity of a properly loaded lift truck should fall inside that triangle. When the center of gravity moves outside the stability triangle, the truck is dangerously unstable and susceptible to a tip-over. 4. A tip-over. In the event of a tip-over, do not try to jump off the truck. Grab the steering wheel firmly in both hands, brace your feet on the floorboard, push yourself firmly into the seat, and lean away from the fall. You are much safer staying inside the operator's compartment and riding out the fall. In closing, you should always remember that you're a professional. You should look and act the part. Always be sharp. It reflects in your entire demeanor in the workplace. You are operating a very expensive and valuable piece of industrial machinery. It is your responsibility to operate it safely and efficiently. Never take part in horseplay while on the job. If you're careless or reckless, accidents can occur, causing injuries and even death to your co-workers, as well as damage to your plant equipment or merchandise. Keep your equipment in top condition by insisting that deficiencies discovered during your pre-operation inspection are reported and repaired by trained people using original equipment manufacturer's parts. Put safety first. It starts with you.